Good evening. I hope everybody is doing well. I'll be talking about the topic about Winston Churchill. He was a old MP in Westminster. He was born on the 30th of November 1874 and he passed away on the 24th of January 1965. He was obviously a minister through World War II. A lot of people like him, a lot of people don't. I mean, there's a lot of controversies. I don't really know the true facts because I only know he's a war minister. Sir Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill, born the 30th of November 1874, passed away 24th of January 1965, was a British statesman, military officer and writer who was Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1940 to 1945 during the Second World War, and again from 1951 to 1955 for some 62 of the years between 1900 and 1964. He was a Member of Parliament (PM) and represented a total of 5 constituencies over that time, ideologically adherent to economic liberalism and imperialism. He was, for the most of his career, a member of the Conservative Party, which he led from 1940 to 1955. He was a member of the Liberal Party from 1904 to 1925, so he's went from one to another. I mean, because I know you get a picture done, painted or something, and I mean, I watched obviously the film, things like that, and he seems to didn't like it. I don't know if he actually did. He was like that. When he was Prime Minister, obviously the monarch was George VI and Elizabeth II, and Deputy Anthony Eden, preceded by Clement Attlee, succeeded by Anthony Eden, and in office from 10th of May 1940 to 26th of July 1945, and the monarch again was George V. Deputy Clement Attlee de facto 1942 to 1945, preceded by Neville Chamberlain, succeeded by Clement Attlee. It's just who votes for who. And senior political office, ministry offices 1939 to 1952. Again, ministry 1908 to 1929. Member of Parliament in office from 29th of October 1924 to 25 September 1964. Preceded by Leonard Leo, succeeded by consistency was abolished. Consistency Epping 1924 to 1945. Woodford 1945 to 1964. In office, obviously, 24th October 900 to 26th October 1922, serving with Alexander Wilkie, 908 to 1922, preceded by Walter Runnicombe, succeeded by Edward Scry Monger, E.D. Morrow. And it's just going through everything. It was about that even before his time, I think. Oldham 900 to 1906, Manchester North West 1906 to 1908, Dundee 1908 to 1922. Now, his personal duties were born, obviously, as I said, 30th of November 1874, Blenheim, Oxfordshire, England, and he passed away 24th of January 1965, age 90, Hyde Park Gate, London, England. I think, was he no man? I don't know if he was in office still at that time. His resting place, St Martin's Church, Blackburn, Oxfordshire. Political party was a Conservative, 1900 to 1904, 1924 to 1964. When did he pass away? 1965. So literally, he was really there to the end. I mean, that's a long time to be serving as a PM from one party to another. So it is a long time. Obviously, other party affiliations: Liberal 1904 to 1924, Constitutionalist 1924, spouse Clementine Hauser is married 1908. He had children, 5 children: Diana, Randolph, Sarah, and Mary. 2, 3, 4. That's only 4. Obviously, one's no maybe mentioned. I think but the way it was sounded in certain things, it sounded as if he didn't have any children. And there was there's theories like saying that the late Queen was actually his daughter, but I don't know. I mean, and always she ended up and off, and obviously as a queen, but there's no chance that I don't think so. There's no way. But his parents were Lord Randolph Churchill, Jeannie Jerome, relatives Spencer family. Oh, hold on a minute. So he was related to the Spencer family, which is Diana's family. That's actually quite weird, that. So that means that he was her uncle or great uncle, maybe. I actually didn't know that. I mean, it just shows you learn so much when you read things. His education was at Harrow School, Royal Military College, Sandhurst. His occupation was a historian, a painter, politician, military officer, and writer. And if anybody wanted, there's like civilian awards. There's also a lot of the English signature. Also, military service, branch and service, military army, territorial, the 1902, years of service, 1893 to 1893 to 1924. His rank was colonel. His unit was 4th Queen's Own Hussars, Lancland Field Force, 21st Lancers, South African Light Horse, Queen's Own Oxfordshire Housers, Grenadier Guards, Royal Scots and Fusiliers. His commands were 6th Battalion, Royal Scots Fusiliers. It seems to be giving a speech, but I don't want to. I don't know if it would be. I'm not going to play that just in case. I don't know if YouTube would allow that or not, because I mean, I'm still kind of new to YouTube. I don't want to. It's getting his voice.
I speak to you for the first time as Prime Minister in a solemn hour for the life of our country.
That was his voice. I mean, if anybody wants to go and kind of listen to his voice saying in his speeches and things like that. But as I said, a lot of people liked him and a lot of people didn't. I'm just trying to, because it's took me out of the blinking thing now. I've got it. He's obviously of mixed English and American parentage. Churchill was born in Oxfordshire into a wealthy aristocratic Spencer family. He joined the British Army in 1895 and saw action in British India, the Mahadist War, and the Second Boer War, gaining fame as a war correspondent and writing books about his campaigns. Elected a Conservative MP in 1900 and defected to the Liberals in 1904 in H.H. Asquith's Liberal government. Churchill was president of the Board of Trade and later Home Secretary, championing prison reform and workers' social security. First Lord of Admiralty before and during the First World War, he oversaw the disastrous naval attacks on the Dardanelles, a prelude to the Gallipoli campaign, and was demoted to Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster. He resigned in November 1915 and joined the Royal Scottish Hussars on the Western Front for 6 months. In 1917, he returned to government under David Lloyd George and served successfully as Minister of Mutinies, Secretary of State of War, Secretary of State of Air, Secretary of State of the Colonies, overseeing the Anglo-Irish Treaty and British foreign policy in the Middle East. After 2 years out of Parliament, he was Chancellor of Exchequer and Stanley Baldwin's Conservative government, returning sterling in 1925 to the gold standard, depressing the UK economy. Out of government during his so-called white wilderness years, in the 1930s, Churchill took the lead in calling for rearmament to counter the threat of the militarism in Nazi Germany. At the outbreak of the Second World War, he was reappointed First Lord of the Admiralty. In May 1940, became Prime Minister, succeeding Neville Chamberlain. Churchill formed a national government and oversaw British involvement in the Allied war effort against the Axis powers, resulting in victory in 1945. After the Conservative defeat in 1945 general election, he became leader of the opposition. Amid the developing Cold War with the Soviet Union, he publicly warned of an Iron Curtain of Soviet influence in Europe and promoted European unity. Between his terms, he wrote several books recounting his experience during the war. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1953. He lost the 1950 election but returned to office in 1951. His second term was preoccupied with foreign affairs, especially Anglo-American relations, and his preservation of what remained of the British Empire, with India no longer a part of it. And some reason we'll come back to it, I don't know why. Domestically, his government's priority was their extensive and successful house building programme. In declining health, Churchill resigned in 1955, remaining an MP until 1964. Upon his death in 1965, he was given a state funeral. I think he died, I'm not really, the Queen was younger than him. So that's why he was given it, because the Queen really liked him. Because I think his dad liked him. One of the 20th century's most significant figures, Churchill remains popular in the UK. He is generously viewed as a victorious wartime leader who played an integral role in defending liberal democracy and getting the spread of fascism. A staunch imperialism, he has sometimes been criticised for comments on race. In addition to wartime decisions such as an air bombings, historically ranking Churchill as one of the greatest British Prime Minister. I mean, as I said, there's a lot of controversy back and forth. He wasn't liked, and I think that everybody has got their opinion, and I agree. I think anybody is allowed to have their opinion, and I don't think you should be hurt for having your opinion or having your freedom of speech, or should be hurt because of your religion or anything like that either. It was Chuck, obviously, his early life, childhood and schooling, 1874 to 1895. Jenny Spence, there's a picture with him, if anybody wanted to go and look on for it, with our two sons, Jack and Winston, right, in 1889. I mean, I would say he looked more like his mum, so there's no picture of the dad, so I don't know. I wouldn't be able to hang with, but from that picture, he looks really like his mum. Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill was born on the 30th of November 1874 at his family ancestral home, Bellingham Palace in Oxfordshire. On his father's side, he was a member of the aristocracy as a descendant of John Churchill, the first Duke of Marlborough. His father, Lord Randolph Churchill, representing the Conservative Party, that's why he went into the Conservative Party, had been elected Member of Parliament MP for Woodstock. In February 1874, his mother was Jeannie Lady Randolph Churchill, a daughter of Leonard Jerome, an American businessman. So he came from a wealthy family. Nothing wrong with that. In 1876, Churchill's paternal grandfather, John Spencer Churchill, the fourth Duke of Marlborough, was appointed Viceroy of Ireland. Randolph became his private secretary, and the family relocated to Dublin. That's where my dad's mum's family come from, is Northern Ireland. Winston's brother Jack was born there in 1880. For much of the 1880s, Randolph and Jeannie were effectively estranged, and the brothers cared for by their nanny, Elizabeth Everest. When she died in 1895, Churchill wrote, "She had been my dearest and most intimate friend during the whole of the 20 years I had lived." Obviously, mum and dad must have obviously split up and she was English. Churchill began boarding school at St George's in Ascot, Berkshire, aged 7, but he was not academic and his behaviour was poor. In 1884, he transferred to Brunswick School in Hove, where his academic performance improved. In April 1888, aged 13, he passed the entrance exam for Harrow School. I don't know if that's a kind of snobby school or whatever. His father wanted him to prepare for a military career, so his last 3 years at Harrow were in the army form. It must be to do with an army school or something then. After unsuccessful attempts to gain admittance to the Royal Military College, Sandhurst, he succeeded. He was accepted as a cadet in the cavalry starting in September 1893. His father died in January 1995. It's got a picture. I mean, I don't know if you can see this. It's hold on. I'm trying. It's hard to kind of tell. That's him there as a young boy. I'm very good at showing pictures. I need to really learn how to kind of do thumbnails and put things up so that you can actually see it properly. I'll get there though. It's in Cuba, India, and Sudan, 1895 to 1899. Also, it's in Churchill in the military dress uniform of the 4th Queen's Own Hussars at Aldershot in 1895. In February 1895, Churchill was commissioned as the second lieutenant on the 4th Queen Owned Hussars Regiment of the British Army. British Army, based at Aldershot. Eager to witness military action, he used his mother's influence to get posted to a war zone. In the autumn, he and friend Reggie Barnes went to observe the Cuban War of Independence and became involved in skirmishes after joining Spanish troops attempting to suppress independent fighters. Churchill sent reports to the Daily Graphic in London. He proceeded to New York and wrote to his mother about what an extraordinary people the Americans are. With the Hussars, he went to Bombay in October 1896. Based in Bangalore, he was in India for 19 months, visiting Calcutta and joining expeditions in Hyderabad and the northwest frontier. In India, Churchill began a self-education project, reading widely, including Plato, Edward Gibbon, Charles Darwin, and Thomas Badminton Macaulay. The books were sent by his mother, with whom he shared frequent correspondence. To learn about politics, he asked her to send him copies of the annual register, the political almanac. In an 1898 letter, he referred to his belief, saying, "I do not accept the Christian or any other forms of religious belief." Churchill had been christened in the Church of England, but underwent a virtually anti-Christian phase in his youth. I think a lot of people go through that with any of their religions. They question their religions, and a lot of people come away from it, and then sometimes you go back to their religions. Especially like in these times when they're kind of forced to go to into whatever religions is because their parents do things like that. Nowadays, you kind of get to choose if you're staying or you're not staying with it. And as an adult, was an agnostic. In another letter to his cousin, he referred to religion as a delicious narcotic and expressed a preference for Protestantism over Roman Catholicism, which he felt it is a step nearer reason. Interested parliamentary affairs, Churchill declared himself a liberal in all but name, adding he could never endorse the Liberal Party's support for Irish home rule. Instead, he allied himself to the Tory democracy wing of the Conservatives. On a visit home, he gave his first speech to the party's Primrose League at Clavington Down. Mixing reformist and conservative perspectives, he supported the promotion of secular, non-dominational education while oppressing women's suffrage. Churchill volunteered to join Biden Blood's Lackland Field Force in its campaign against Mohammed's rebels in the Swat Valley of northwest India. Blood accepted on condition he was assigned as a journalist, the beginning of Churchill's writing career. I mean, I've heard that he did love writing, so he did, and he did like his painting, as I said. He returned to Bangalore in October 1897 and wrote his first book, The Story of the Malakand Field Force, which received positive reviews. He wrote his only work of fiction, Savora, in Ritatorian romance. To keep occupied, Churchill embraced writing as what Roy Jenkins calls his whole habit, especially though through his career when he was out of office. Writing was a safeguard against recurring depressions, which he referred to as his black dog. I mean, a lot of people, if they're in the army, they do suffer for mental health, and especially if you're away from home, your family, and I feel as if there's lack of that in the forces and when people come out of the forces, and I think that does need to change, because a lot of our veterans are on the streets and with mental health problems and not getting any support at all. Using London contacts, Churchill got attached to General Herbert Kitchener's campaign in the Sudan as the 21st Lancers subaltern while working as a journalist for the Morning Post. After participating in one of the British Army's last cavalry charges in the Battle of Omdurman in September 1898, the 21st Lancers were stood down. In October, Churchill returned to England and began writing The River War about the campaign. It was published in 1899. He decided to leave the army as he was critical of Kitchener's actions, particularly the unmerciful treatment of enemy wounded and his desertion of Muhammad tomb. In the 2nd of September 1898, Churchill embarked for India to settle his military business and complete his resignation. He spent much time playing polo, the only ball sport in which he was ever interested. Having led the Hussars, he sailed from Bombay on the 20th of March 1899, determined to launch a career in politics. We'll do is I'll leave it there, because there is quite a lot to read about. Because there's a lot to read, because he's there's so much to learn about Winston Churchill, and who, as I said, yeah, you like him or you don't like him. Um, it's not as if I was about, I mean, it's at that time, but you hear conflicting stories about how what he did and what he didn't do during the war. So, but I need to read things and learn things and then base my opinion on it and give my opinion on it without listening to other people's opinions. Um, so, as I say, I'll leave it there and I'll read more at another time. Sending love and light and good night.